Hey, Yamagay, everybody. I didn't know. I forgot to add myself to streaming in. I hope you enjoyed that. I was jumping around there. That's our music, isn't it good? When someone really gets into it. I was dancing around earlier. And I'd like to start off by paying our respects to all the ancestors and the elders in all the lands our voices are being heard in tonight. And thank you, everyone, for coming and listening. And we'll be joined by Donny and Nese shortly. But until then, let's warm ourselves up time by the fire, and you've got to listen to me for a few minutes until they turn up. So, okay. So I hope everyone's had a good week. Sorry I had to put this on earlier, but I've got things to do tomorrow, and I just, yes, Donny. Don't tell me you can't connect in, Donny. We'll have to use the Blackfellow Telegraph, and I'll have to repeat everything. Send you the link. Where? Oh, I sent it in Discord. Sorry about this. Just enjoy the fire. No, it's all right. Tonight I'd like to actually talk about the importance of fire in our culture and everyone else's culture. And I'm trying to type in the chat room at the same time and do two things at once. That's all right there. While we're waiting for the gentleman to arrive. So I had an interesting day. My message, and I've got a few things to talk about that I want to talk about, but when those fellows get here, we'll have a yarn. I'll talk about that, just about nature and the message that I got from it today. That nature isn't just in the bush, nature's in your house. If you have a plant or an animal in your house, nature is in your house watching you. That was the kind of message I got to tell everyone. Sorry about the background noise too. It's evening here. So yeah, if you can't get to the bush, some people can't, and it can be very frustrating, especially for your spirit. It's okay. Nature's everywhere. You go out to the footpath, or the sidewalk, as some would call it. These trees there, that's nature. It doesn't have to be full on bush. You can't all access it all the time unless you live there, like Donny does. G'day, Donny. How you going, my brother? You're muted. He'll unmute himself in a minute. Yeah, so you don't have to go to the bush all the time unless you actually live near it. Like some of us do have the pleasure of living near it, others don't, but you can surround yourself in it still, plants and animals. It's the same, and you treat them with respect just as you would if you're going in the bush. Hey, my brother, how are you this evening?
Not too bad. A bit stressed out, but not too bad.
Oh, well, it's time to de-stress now, brother, and warm yourself by that fire. Oh, hang on. Hello. G'day, my brother. We're on the show now.
Say what?
We're on the show now.
Oh no, I just got my coffee. I was calling to be right there on StreamYard.
Okay, I'll meet you there.
Okay.
I'm already there. Yellow. Haha, did you hear that? So, brother Nese will be with us in a second. So you're a bit stressed out, my brother. Oh, that's right. We'll fill everyone in. The rain, the water. Tell us a bit about that. What's happening there, Donny?
Big while come, plenty of water coming in almost into the house. Yeah. Didn't work out real well.
Yeah. It'll be all right. And
as soon as I seen that,
sorry.
As soon as I seen that rainbow, I knew things were going to be good. Then.
That's right. You saw a rainbow today while you were out sandbagging.
Yeah.
That's a good sign. And what did the rainbow tell us?
And just tells you that bloody things will be fine. That's how I put it down to be when you see a rainbow.
Yeah. It's all going to be okay.
Yeah.
Just running around for techie. Yeah, it's all going to be okay. Yeah, that's the sign. Sometimes you get a double rainbow, and it's going to be doubly okay. Actually, when we had the floods right near us in the last couple of years, after it was over and we drove around watching all the water recede, we actually saw rainbows and double rainbows. So that it was the same kind of thing. So it looks like it's over on anything. Yahoo. And because it's raining so much, that's why I wanted to talk a bit tonight about the importance of fire in our cultures. And we'll get into that when Brother Nese gets here. Since it's raining so much, I thought we'd go the opposite way and talk about the wind and the fire and stuff like that. Does that make you feel better, Donny?
Yeah, it does.
It's like when it's freezing cold and you haven't got an actual fire and you look at one, you actually feel warm.
Yeah.
That actually happened to me when I was a teenager. I went over to my friend's house and it was freezing, and we're sitting in the lounge room on the lounge, and she said to me, "Hang on, I'll go and get the heater." And I went, "Rightio." So she put the heater in front of us, and she sat back down, and we're talking, and her husband's in the background laughing, and we turned around like, "What are you laughing at?" And he goes, "Look at the heater." And we were saying how we feel warm and everything, and then we looked down, she forgot to plug it in. So just the thought of having a heater.
Yeah, the power of thought.
Yeah, the power of thought, yeah. So you might be able to yarn about that too. The power of thought. I don't want to get into anything juicy till Nese gets here. You know what it's like. And we do have cold floating around this evening, but I don't know how he feels about a yarn. I'm waiting for you two fellas to get right into it, and he can't help himself, because that's usually what you hear a good yarn going, and it's like, oh, bing. So we're in this changeover of seasons here. We're going into summer here in Australia, and the rest of the northern hemisphere is going into winter. Different spirits come out, and so did you? Hey, that's do you notice that too, bro? Different spirits come out in different seasons.
Yeah, it does.
Hey, winter spirits are different to summer spirits.
Yeah.
Did you know too that this is trivial? That when you blow bubbles, kids' bubbles, when you blow bubbles, they actually last longer in winter than they do in summer. The spirits are different from summer to winter. In here, especially here in Australia, you can feel it because it heats up so much, and it does actually get. Well, we say it gets cold, but I know living in the northern hemisphere, cold isn't cold like we know it here. I would just not survive. Donny knows that.
Yeah. You got lizard blood in you.
Pardon?
I said you got lizard blood in you.
Yeah, I have. It just drops a few degrees. I'm freezing. I've met a lot of people from overseas that have come here from countries like Africa and the desert in America, and even Egypt. Okay, and they've come here and they're dying of the heat. And I've looked at them with surprise, because I thought, oh, you come from a hot place anyway. You're going to do really well here. You'll love it. And they die of the heat. And I look at them and go, well, are you all right? And they go like, oh, I thought you'd be used to the heat. And they say to me, it's not like this. So I don't really have anything to compare it to. What about you, Donny?
It's either hot or bloody hot. That's all I've got to say.
Yeah, I tell people if I'm saying it's hot, then it must be really, really hot, because I like the hot weather. And if I go, whoa, it's a hot day today, that means everyone else is inside hiding in the air conditioning. Okay. So what have you noticed? How can I put it? Before the rain came, Donny, did you notice any spiritual activity in the nature spirits or anything like that, changeover, or maybe more of them or lack of them? Did you notice anything like that, bro?
I seem to be more active, for want of a better word. Yes. In the spirits.
Like they were busy.
Put it down like creation time. Because they create, when spring comes, it creates flowers, which creates animals to come to the flowers, and it creates fruit and vegetables and things like that. Yeah.
And the importance of the flooding of the river or the creeks, whatever, they're veins. They're like veins, eh?
Yeah. She's giving them. My mother's doing a bit of house cleaning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the good dirt that they leave behind, is really important as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is like house cleaning. We've watched it over the years. We've had 2 or 3 cycles of dust storm, flood, and fire.
Yeah.
And we've watched it come in, and now we hit this. Hang on, I've just got to answer a message. I've got to send. Hang on, I'll just send my brother the link. One moment. He'll shortly join it. I should have waited, eh? Oh no, it's already done. Yeah, hang on. Excuse my tech fumble. All right. What was I saying? Yeah. Sorry.
I've noticed something about since this big wet came in. It seems to be hitting the East Coast a lot. But if you watch the storm cells, that they seem to be heading towards Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, and all them places. Like if they've been guided there. To me, it makes sense. And then again, it doesn't make sense. Do you understand what I mean? Like, if there's a spirit in that rain, they seem to be heading towards the most populated areas.
You know what I think, bro? I think Mum's doing her natural thing and providing the water, but I've got a feeling someone's grabbing that energy and pushing it the way they want to do it.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, but Mother might be saying enough is enough too.
Yeah, oh, definitely saying that. Yeah, I saw that coming. We had plenty of warning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still feel there's someone trying to manipulate it, and I truly believe, like some of the storms we have, you know, how we have hurricanes and that up north regular. I've watched them. They got like they're like spirits that come in.
Yeah.
They're like spiritual beings. And I was thinking, like, is it possible that they could manipulate those spirit, you know, the spirit beings? And if they did, they'd get mighty pissed off. I know that much.
I know.
But there's a possibility, because we know there's weather control. But what I've saw of the weather control, they don't actually, how can I put it? That's why I think Mother provides it, and they just hook in on whatever Mother's doing and amplify it, and then push it around a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, hang on. Something's happening here. I've got to do. Hang on. Oh no! Why is it doing that? I can't click on it. One moment. Hang on, Nese. I just got to fix something. Yeah, I think they're spirits.
This.
Oh, it won't let me copy. Sorry. Hey, Carl, I can't copy. Hang on, go to blah, blah, blah. It won't let me copy.
Get a cat.
Get a cat.
Yeah, then you copycat.
Hang on. I think I might have fixed it now. No, it won't let me copy and paste, man. What's happening? Oh, there we are. Oops.
What you said you were tech savvy there, learner?
I'm not, man. Come on. Every time I do a show, it's like, can you persevere with me while I try to figure this out?
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't know what I've done now. But oh no, what have I done?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll give you advice, learner.
Yeah.
Use a bigger hammer or weld it shut.
All right, I'm going to try this. Use a big hammer. I feel like throwing it. No, it's all right. I'm trying this Nese. Hang on. Hope this works. We'll find out in a second. Yeah, I don't know what was going on there. Sorry about the technical difficulty. Now we're getting back to our program. Yes, storms being spirits. Where were we at, Donny? Storms being spirits. Them being manipulated. Yeah. So when there's a big storm, and it's a spirit storm, do you reckon all the trees, everything knows it's coming? We're the last ones to know it's coming. Even with radar, there you go, it's coming. But I've looked at radar, and it's like waiting for the storm to get here, and it's like, hang on, their radar's a bit out. And that's how I realise the spirit of the energy of that storm is being manipulated because it's fighting against what it's trying to manipulate it. That's what I've seen that.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, the other day I looked out the front door and it was raining across the road and it wasn't raining here.
Yeah, I've seen that up here.
Yeah, I haven't seen that since I was a kid.
Yeah, it actually rained all around my house and property, but it never rained anywhere else in Benamere.
Yeah, that's funny, isn't it? I hope I've done the right dress now because now it says something different. Oh. Okay. We'll just keep talking. I've got to find another way to send him the address. That's all right. All right then. I don't know what's going to happen if Nese is actually going to be able to join us before us. I don't know how I'm going with the address that I sent because I had problems with my tech, but we'll sit tight for a minute. I knew this was going to happen. So when have you been to the desert, Donny?
What was that?
Have you been to the desert?
Desert?
Yeah. To the
Nah,
desert.
never been up this range much.
Oh, haven't you? I've been out to the desert. You know what the difference is? There's no tree people. And because there's no tree people, you can hear everyone for miles and miles away. I mean, you can do it. How can I put it? So, you know, when you're in the bush and you use the bush telegraph, right? But you can feel all the other life forms around you, all the trees and the plants and the animals, right? When you're in the desert, there's no tree people, so that voice isn't there, and the amount of ground animals is declined to only a few, so it's even quieter. And because it's so quiet, you can hear things more. Do you know what I'm saying? Oh man, Nese's having trouble getting in. I can hear him talking about the bush telegraph pole. I've done something wrong here, Carl. I need to view tab. Oh. Sharing. When this come up, excuse me everyone for a minute. When this come up in that address there, it had 3 addresses and I pressed one and it went to broadcast and that's the wrong address, I think. Oh, I know how to do it. Hang on. Excuse me just a second, everyone, while I fix this for my brother. Copy. I'm coming to the rescue, Nese. Yeah.
It's amazing how a little light helps out.
Oh, thanks for helping me out, Carl. All he had to do was come over like a little, see that everyone? He came over like a little lamp and then all of a sudden I knew what to do. Thank you for that extra light. If you're listening, Nese, yeah, I just put it in, the right one. It's in Skype right now. It's the right one to get in here. Sorry about that. And it wasn't my fault. Totally, because I'm technically not savvy. So anyway. There's the spirit of the water. I don't want to talk about water, Donny, because you're in crisis at the moment.
Yeah, how long can you tread water?
I don't know how long.
Till you start sinking.
Yeah, I can tread water for a while. I can't. Yeah, that's how I learned to swim. They just chucked me in. I had to learn to tread and swim.
I can swim straight to the bottom.
You can swim straight to the bottom. I just thought about it. That's because you're not a water person.
He's a sinker.
Yeah, some people sink and some people float. That's funny. G'day, Carl. How you going?
Yeah, good, mate. How you going, Donny?
Take a seat and join us.
Yeah, my brother.
Keeping out of trouble up there in the wet weather, mate. I hear the storms are getting pretty good up that way. The Earth Mother's cleaning her arteries.
Oh, bloody hope she is.
So, Carl joins us on behalf of the northern nations
Even though the southern one.
of the even though you live in the south, he comes from the northern nations of the fair-skinned people. Celtic druid. I know. Explain yourself there, Carl. What your heritage is.
I'm just a human being, a spiritual being, actually having a human experience.
There you go. So I was talking about your vessel. And where did you acquire your vessel from?
Well, that's a subject I don't think it'd be appropriate to talk about.
Hey,
on here,
ask
so
people, where did you get your vessel from? Is that an
Hitchhiking on the side of the road.
Yeah, hallelujah. Hello, my brother. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Nese has finally joined us.
Nese here now, is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, time to go mute.
Oh, did you hear that, brother?
Yeah, we know that's absolutely entirely impossible for an Aussie man to go mute for more than 3 minutes.
Hey, Nese, how
And
are
the
you?
clock's ticking.
That was Nese's traditional welcome backwards. No, welcome, my brother.
Well, it gave me an opportunity to play around on my mobile device a little more.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we're talking about spirits, entities. Actually, that's what I wanted to ask you. Would you call them a spirit or an entity? Because here we have cyclones, and they're like spirits, and you can watch them move. They've got a mind of their own, and they react to other energies, and you can see that they're kind of alive. And we're not talking about too much about water, because poor brother Donny's having a bit of an overabundance of water where he lives.
Again?
Yeah. So
Yes, Nese, again.
Donny, I thought I told you, by all means, if necessary, give me a jingle and I'll be the first one to do an anti-rain dance.
Do you do that backwards?
No, I just remained sitting.
Course.
I remained sitting in my chair. That's my anti-rain dance.
Yeah.
Here I was thinking that the Sky Father was just love bombing the Earth Mother.
Well, hello, Carl. Sorry I didn't address you earlier. Acknowledge your miraculous perfection of unique individualism.
Hey, my beautiful brother, how you doing over there?
I am fair to partly cloudy with a 99% chance of participation. As soon as I pour this cup of mushkide mushkiki wabo.
Coffee. I know how to speak your language now. That was coffee, right?
Yes.
So what's the spirit of coffee, Nese?
Well, spirits, we use the word monado, excuse me, as one of our words for spirit. But when you look at the definition, where the Anishinaabe language is way more colorful than the much, much, much younger language of English, which I do think is somewhat purposefully created in order to take away our potential power. But the word monadu can be described as mystery, unknown, spirit, essence, energy, power, soul. And when you hear in North America, when they refer to the Paleo-Americans and their deity or God, they'll talk about the Great Spirit. And this goes from the Anishinaabe word, Gichimanadu. Gichi meaning largest, abundant, enormous, huge, the biggest. And so the biggest mystery, the greatest unknown, is the pinnacle creator, because unlike common beliefs, we do believe that there's always a bigger fish in the sea, which we, the Anishinaabe, call Gitchi Manadu, the spirit. And so basically everything has spirit to it, energy to it, power to it, but it depends on the generalization. So if you said the dogs, each individual dog has its spirit, its own individual spirit. Although all the dogs on Imush, they have a spirit also. The best way I could describe it is that humans, they are within a range or spectrum of frequency. And so if we think of like all of the generalization spirits of humans would be A to Z. Now within all of that A to Z, Luna would be L, Donny would be D, Carl would be C, and I would be N. But we're all within that full spectrum. And that goes the same with the tree. You know, that singular tree is its own essence, but the spirit essence of all the trees are its own. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, because I find it hard to explain, like they're individual, but they're all one. Because we just say the mother and kind of put it under one thing, but there's a lot of separate things in the one thing. Yeah.
Well, it's almost like if you take a glass of water, you know, that glass of water is all of the planet, and every little molecule within that water is all of the individual things that are within the planet. Like a drop in the ocean. We're all just a drop in the ocean.
Yeah, we are. And that one drop doesn't seem like much, but it's so important, because if you keep taking little drops out of the ocean, eventually there'll be none left. So, and I use that to refer to us individually, spiritually, because we're all very important and we all play a part, like that one drop in the ocean. And for some reason in my mind, Star Trek just come to it when, who is it? When he went back to his own world and they all live in this ocean where they all connect. Odo. Does anyone watch Star Trek? Besides Kaminga? Isn't that weird? I like watching Star Trek, but I have a different belief. Yeah, this guy, character Odo, he was actually from a race of people on his planet. They were like a golden ocean, and when you go into the ocean, you become part of the ocean, and when you come out, you become the drop and become a separate entity, even though you are all connected like we are with the Blackfella telephone. It's the same kind of thing. When I watched that show, I was so kind of delighted, because I thought that explains it. So we all beautiful golden drops of this beautiful ocean. Everything is there, though. The animals, the trees, every spirit is part of it, the same thing. And that's why we should have so great respect for what we stand on under our feet, what we lean on, the trees. When we even digging in the garden, out the front, take care of the animals and that live there, and the spiders and all that. They're not your enemy. And you'd be surprised if you went, hey, can you move please? They'll actually move for you, because we're all part, we're all one, we're all connected.
Except the mosquitoes.
Oh, I don't know what to think about them, Nese.
Right? Those are the things that I don't understand in their whole realm of being in it all. Mosquitoes, wood ticks, leeches.
Mm-hmm. They all bloodsuckers, and those odd human. Sorry, bloodsuckers. They have their place, but because they used leeches in healing. I don't know about the ticks. Well, the ticks and the mosquitoes.
Well, if you think about it in a sense of how, here in America, they have this huge challenge with mosquitoes since they've destroyed all the natural predators, thank you, Monsanto, for the mosquito. And so now they're trying to eradicate the mosquitoes with spraying. And here I got involved with squawking about why are we using a petrochemical based spray and not utilizing a water based spray.
Yeah, because we got lots of natural plants for mosquitoes, ticks, and leeches. Why aren't they utilising them sprays? And they're natural. What they're doing is taking out those individual spirits out of that connection we were saying, and dismantling nature. If you take one thing out and then you'll take another thing out because it gets overrun, then you'll take another thing out, and you're supposed to be actually putting them there and not taking them out. In my house, and I warn this to anyone that comes to my house, we're totally natural, we don't spray or anything. Outside there's a natural balance now between spiders and all the other insects, and we watch the cycle come round from winter to summer. So when all the spiders and all that are out and the cockroaches come, the spiders eat the cockroaches, and then the spiders become abundant, and then as summer comes, the wasps all come out and go around and eat all the spiders. And then the wasps were abundant, and then the birds eat them. And when the spring comes all in, and they're all towards summer and that, the birds eat all the wasps. And then the cycle starts again. You come back in the winter, and we just let it happen. And now we don't have a problem. Every now and again, I might have to put a sign up on the veranda saying, watch out for the spider and you have to walk this way, because I won't move the web. I'll get people to move around it, and it'll move by itself eventually. And I'll have little signs up and people laugh, but they got to live too. And the spiders eat mosquitoes, Nese.
Well, that's the whole perspective. If you think of it, is it feasible that mosquitoes are a agent of the planet in order to spread dis-ease to more or less thin out the herd? Because here in North America, where ironically the number of individuals that die from mosquitoes is astronomically less than the numbers of individuals that die from doctors' mistakes, yet we don't spray for doctors.
Not yet, brother. We're still working on that plan, along with the others as well.
But there's a big difference between a doctor and a healer, because the healer looks at the many layers: your spirit, your mind, your body, the whole range, not just your body.
Agree. However, I do have a challenge with that term, healer. I was informed that if anybody proclaims to be a healer, that you run the other way, because individuals will have modalities to assist in healing, but when it comes to actual healing, the number one proponent of that healing is the actual individual.
That's right, and you better start running.
And so
no, that's true, because I'll have someone come with whatever problem they have, and there are those individuals that I look to see what I can help them with, and ultimately I see that they have to make a decision about themselves. I can't do that for them, and sometimes for them to arrive to that point can be very, very hard. I can hold their hand and help them get there, but ultimately, the end result is them. And I tell them that I'm not going to do the work for you. You're going to do the work yourself, because that's how it works. I'll help you and guide you, but ultimately it's up to you, because I can help fix someone, and then 2 years later I see them and they're exactly where they are because they put themselves back there.
Sorry, I had to refresh my YouTube because apparently I was having some difficulties.
And then I've got other people where I've worked on them, they've come back and they've flourished, like that flower on the screen. They've just blossomed. They've understood what's going on, how they play a part to it ultimately.
Well, they talk about the placebo. You know, the placebo is basically a sugar pill. And they have proven this within the science realm. And of course, there is no scientific absolute, that they could give somebody a placebo and the individual having the belief, the thought, the feeling that this pill is going to work, that it works. And this kind of goes on the same thing about practitioners of directing energy or manipulating energy. Sometimes they need a tool in order to put the focus, the direction, into the process of their achievement, i.e., like a magic wand, or some people will use different tools of divination, like tarot cards, or rolling the dice, or some individuals are so well in their talents that they don't need tools. You know, a lot of times in the movies, you'll hear the whole proclamation of, you don't need the magic sword. The power was within you the whole time. Or like Dorothy in the Ruby Slippers. She had the power there all the time. All she had to do is click her heels together and she could have gone back home.
But people freak out. I tried it once. I said to someone, I was doing a cleaning job, spiritual cleaning job, and they wanted to know what I was going to do, and I explained it to them and told them what I was going to use. And I looked at them and I went, but I actually don't need to use anything. You should have seen the look on their face. I looked at their face and thought, gee, I'm not going to say that to anyone again, even though I'm telling you now, but not personally, because they can't fathom it. People have to see something. Like you said, they have to see something. And when they see that something, it actually, because you talk about it, Nese, not having vision, you don't rely on that anymore, but other people do. So when they see something, it impacts them more because they've seen it, okay? So most of the spiritual work, you can't see it unless you can see into the spirit world and you have that eye for it. So for normal people, they want to see something, whether it be a tarot card, whether it be traditional smoking, whatever floats your boat, right? Yeah, I have my own thoughts on things, but whatever floats your boat, same, people see it and it reacts and it goes in deeper, and has more of an effect. So I've got a question for you though, Nese. So now when people ask me what I do and I can't tell them I'm a healer, even though my traditional name says that, what do I tell them?
Well, there lies the challenge. I would just say,
word, come on, people need words too, you know.
just say, I'm a Donny, and I'm going to Donny you.
Well, exactly. That's exactly what I say. I'm Donny.
Yeah,
I don't call myself a healer or anything. I'm Donny.
Well, interesting, you know, in the current experience that I'm going through, for my own hubris, I'm rolling for mayor of Moorhead, Minnesota, in North America. And as I'm going through this experience, I'm not a big fan of being labeled a politician. And so in that examination of labels, I am trying to come up with my top 5 self-proclaimed labels. My first label that I would choose is one that I will not give up, but it's my full Anishinaabe spirit name. The second one would be Nese, which is just 2 syllables of that name. The third is Kevin Richard Shores. The fourth would be Anishinaabe. And the fifth would be Anishinaabe Inini. And beyond that, we would have to have healthy dialogue, conversation, to establish what other labels I am willing to proclaim, especially since when you proclaim a label, you should remember that other people do not prescribe to the same dictionary that you do. And so they're going to have their own preconceived thought of that label and what it means. And if their experiences of existence have developed that the word agabuduga da da is a negative thing, if you ever said, yeah, I'm a abaduba da da, then they're going to freak out because they were taught that that's a negative, that's a no-no, just like that N word, which gets me a little bit frustrated because even if I don't say the word, if I say N word, that word that I'm not supposed to say is going through your mind at this moment. So if I just keep saying N word, is it any different than if I actually said the word that was developed from negro, a Spanish word meaning black? Or we say makade.
So if someone comes up to you and says, I'm a dark spirit and I'm playing mischief on people, or you just say I'm a dark spirit, don't be shocked because it might mean something different. I'm just...
Right? Well, I mean,
I had to chuck that in, sorry.
The fruit of the labor, you know, where they proclaim the cliche that
I'm not saying I am. I'm just saying, you know, I'm not saying.
Well, actions speak louder than words. So the powers that should not be, from my experience, they're going to proclaim whatever it is they believe you will comply to, and that's what they'll label themselves. They'll say, oh, I'm a Christian, I'm a Hebrew, I'm part of the Rotary Club, I'm, you know, this, that, and the other thing, when in actuality, when you have discernment of their actions, you see them working within the realms of negativity, darkness, fear.
From their fruits, yeah, you look at their fruits. That's what I say to people. Check out their fruits, and if they're sour, you know what's going on. If they're sweet and abundant, you're on a good thing. Yeah, so I still don't know what to say now. Nese. And I can't stand there waiting for him to figure it out.
Well, you could be a personal assistant. I will be your personal assistant in healing, because I use the metaphor of being a conduit or like a straw. You know, if I am going to take on assisting somebody in healing, then I will try to be the straw or the conduit so that individual can tap into the universal energy, power, essence, spirit to heal themselves. because that's one of the challenges, is that there's a protocol as an Anishinaabe that if you want to go to a elder or somebody who has these talents within healing, then you would go and present them with some asema or tobacco. Some people would give tinikanik. And then the individual will take that tobacco or refuse it. Because every time that you utilize your talents to assist somebody else in their healing, then you potentially take on the risk of their illness, their dis-ease to come into you. And if you do not be the straw, if you do not be the conduit, it can have some detrimental effects on your health.
Actually, I'll differ with you there, Nese, because that's something I learned very young, at a very young age, is not to take on what the person is going through. That we're separate, we're connected, but we're separate energies. And that's to prevent my illnesses and to keep myself going for as many years as I can. And that's a really important lesson. There's all different ways of healing. That's what I realised. A lot of people, when they put hands on someone, think they have to take their pain away from them by taking them into themselves. You don't have to do it. I don't do that personally. It lifts up out of them, and I watch Creator take it away, because I don't want it in me. I've got my own problems. So I bring it out so it can be taken away by something higher than me. And that's what I mean. There's many different ways of healing.
What do you think, Carl?
Oh, brother, that's an interesting question, because I was just sitting here thinking about it.
It's different again. Yeah.
We were always taught that the male energy shines light out, puts energy in, and the female energy pulls energy out. And I've even watched some of the tribal elders of Australia here doing this on television, where you can see the male is actually putting in energy to the body, and the lady that's working with the female energy is actually pulling it out, and it is going straight back to the light. It's just, I think that we complicate it too much because we've forgotten our balance with the earth. Like for men, we generally are in tune with the father energy of the planet, which brings energy in from the cosmos into the earth, whereas the earth is constantly pulling energy out of herself up into the sky, which forms that circle of the rain, actually. So healing, I think, works predominantly on the same principle, depending on which gender you are and how you lean in those genders, which is more dominant, because obviously some men can actually be far more feminine in their nature than male, and the same with some women can be more male than feminine. So you work with what's strongest. And I think the question of whether someone should classify themselves as a healer, I think I'm on par with you with that one. I'm not suggesting that people can't proclaim that they're a healer, but I would always see it as an assistant to healing, someone that actually assists someone else by shining light into something they're in the dark to, helping them to release it. And they actually are then able to own their own healing and feel the power themselves from it because they did it.
Oh, what about you, Donny?
I'm sorry, I'm sipping on my coffee listening.
Yeah,
what do you think, Donny?
I'm still processing, as they say, at the moment. Yeah, I haven't got any thoughts about it just yet. Let me think about it.
Well, I'll be the first one to proclaim of being a hypocrite. Because I know myself. And that's, the great experience of an individual's existence is knowing thyself. And ultimately, when it comes down to it, who is going to know you more than you? And so in knowing myself, I know that an overabundance of Makade Mushki Kiwabo coffee is going to create acidicness in my existence, and I know that certain foods like the nightshade family causes me discomfort or dis-ease. And especially when it comes down to if there is such thing as a white devil, it is, from my perspective, processed sugar. And sugar is so detrimental on life in the proclaimed human species. And it is well known by the powers that should not be of what a negative effect that sugar has. And I'm not saying all sugars, because my ancestors remake sugar out of maple syrup. You need 40 gallons of maple syrup in order to make 1 pound of maple sugar.
Well, now I agree with you with the white sugar, and that's a lot of maple sugar. Right, that takes a lot of maple.
And I love it and fear it.
When I go to a community centre, the first thing I go is, "What do you got white bread for? What do you got white sugar for? Why do you having white flour? You shouldn't be having this and that." I used to say it all the time, so much that people got sick of hearing me. It was like, "Oh, here she comes." Now I'd say, when they open a packet of chips, I go, "What are you eating poison in a packet for?" And things like that. But I can't help myself. If I'm near someone and I care about them and I watch them consume something regularly and it's no good for them, I have to at least say once, "Hey, that's no good for you," because a lot of people battle with that kind of stuff.
I've done that same thing. I'll sometimes say, "Hey, will you go get me some poison?" And they'll be like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, can you go over and get me one of my specialty coffees?"
What's your poison, man?
But, exactly. When you go into the bar, that was one of the things they said. "What's your poison?"
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, while I was listening, they reminded me of something. I want to tell people what we do in our culture for a simple way of to show you how our healing techniques are. So when the kids are little and they fall over and scrape their knee, we don't run up to them and go, "The poor thing," right? We do that, but the first thing we do is run up to them and go, "Pull the pain off quick," and we grab just above the area they hurt them and pull it away. And we show them as a young child how they can pull the pain out of their body, out to outside their body, and let it go. And it's just something tiny that upstairs reminded me to tell you of how our healings work. And it's obviously in the mind. You see the pain as soon as you hurt yourself, before the pain goes into your body, you grab it from the outside and pull it out. And to me, it looks like dark energy because it's not loving, it's pain. And that's how I see it. I just grab the dark energy, and it's often when they scrape their knee, it just looks like a thread, a thick thread if it's really big, or a thin thread. If it's bigger, it looks like a mass. Then you just pull it off and throw it away. And that's what we teach our kids. I just wanted to share that with you so the listeners get an idea of how.
Unbeknownst the American way, that when you fall down and get a boo-boo on your knee, the American way is to come up and smack you upside the head real hard and say, "See, now your knee doesn't hurt."
That sounds like our way too, brother.
Yeah, we do that, but in different ways.
Yeah.
At least you're not thinking about the knee anymore.
Oh, I say that too to the kids sometimes. "You want me to stamp on your foot so your hand don't hurt?" But that's when the whining, that's emotional. We hard up emotionally that way. You go, bro.
Can I add something to this?
Donny wants to.
Sorry, Donny, go for it, brother.
I just remember that Dad used to say when we used to hurt ourselves, "Bite the bullet." That's all.
Oh, that's all right. I was just going to go back to the sugar stuff, because whenever I look at a problem like that, and it's a collective one which seems to be affecting most of us, I always look for what was missing inside all of us for us to create such a pathway in the first place to try and find an answer. Because sometimes you can look at an individual to find out where the source of the problem came from, to reduce the hyphen ease that they're going through and bring back a state of ease, and assist them to do that. But ultimately, when you're looking at collective problems, I think you've got to look at what's actually missing, what was missing in all of us for us to want to create that pathway in the first place. And I think that helps us to understand not just ourselves, but everyone at the same time. And it can shift consciousness when answers are found. And before you know it, over a period of time, people have grown away from that direction, forging new ones. Well, I generally call it a work in progress. We're not there yet.
Do you want me to... I get the hand motion talk, and it's like, well, how am I supposed to ring a tab on that? What did you say, Carl? I wasn't listening.
Now that's something I'm used to.
For those that are listening, me and Carl have been together for like over 30 years, so, and we're occupying the same space here. That's why there's only one avatar up. So them jokes, I just don't get offended. Like, we're not arguing, nothing's just a joke. All right, where were we? What were we talking about?
Healing.
Oh,
Healing.
this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah, healing. They actually were going to tell me something else. What was it? It slipped my mind now.
I love the subject of healing, by the way.
Healing.
Well, the beautiful thing about healing is that when we make this decision to incorporate different modalities in healing, first, may I share, as an Anishinaabe, we're taught that we individuals are divided in 4 realms or parts. That's physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And each of those are like a spoke on the wheel. And in order for the wheel to optimally roll smoothly, all of those spokes have to be equally strong. So when we make that choice of performing self-healing, the best direction that I can suggest humbly is you plan to achieve healing. And then in that plan of healing, you look at the greater cycles to assist you in healing. And we are now on the precipice of a new moon. And if we look at the new moon or the cycle of the moon, we can use that in assistance of healing. Like the moon, where it starts the lunar calendar of total darkness, where there is no moon, the new moon. And then eventually we get the sliver of the moon or the toenail of the moon. And then it goes into its fullness. And this is kind of like a metaphor of light, of life. You know, out of darkness, we become the light. We come to the zenith of the shine, and then we go back into darkness. And the cycle continues on and on. So, like when you look at the calendar, we're in the Gregorian calendar, it's like, okay, it is Monday. And so now on Monday, we are going to start this schedule of healing. So if we can utilize that start of the lunar cycle and say, okay, this new moon, I am going to be consistent and do this, that, or the other choice of remedying the dis-ease. And I suggest that to individuals all the time. Okay, it's the new moon. So go one lunar cycle from new moon to new moon and don't do sugar, or don't eat red meat, or don't have sex, or don't drink alcohol, or whatever it is that through discernment of knowing thyself, what is causing negativity in my existence. So in the simplicity, the complexity of it, positive, neutral, and negative, which I bring up all the time, I know that we know what is negative when we generalize. And so what is it that we're willing to do to accomplish positivity by transmuting the negativity or minimally neutralizing it? So the new moon is on Tuesday, I believe it is, here in North America. So I give you the new moon challenge.
I'd like to take that to another level, because if you eat healthy, there's different areas to make things better. Your mind, right, within that month, make a point of talking to Creator, perhaps, or whatever your belief is, right? To connect more that way, make a habit of connecting with nature, whether it be a plant or an animal or the bush, whatever. Acknowledge those things and have positive thoughts also, as well as putting positive things in your body, because that's another level to healing. It's an all-round level, like Nese said, that your body, your mind, your spirit, your emotions, or the heart. And the heart is really important, because in our culture we say that your spirit lives in the torso of your body, where your heart is also, when it goes down to your stomach, which is your second brain, where you'll feel things hitting your intuition and stuff like that. So that's where you reside in your body, right in the middle. And so healing physically and emotionally and spiritually and mentally also, mind your thoughts. And then you've got actions. What do? Put something positive in, go for a walk, put some music on and dance to a song. Maybe you need to calm down more because you're busy. So lay down on a blanket outside and just listen to nature. Depends, you know yourself better than anyone, and Creator knows you even better. And I find if you're physically fit and you eat the right things, obviously, if you're seeking healing, there's healings on different levels. It's an all-round thing. And that's what we look at when we look at somebody, is all those areas, not just one particular thing. Because I know when you go to a normal systems doctor, they only look at your body. They don't worry about what you're thinking or feeling or where your spirit's at. And they only tap in on one level and they forget the rest. You have to go somewhere else for that, where it should be all-encompassing. So when you go to in the future, I believe we'll have places where you can go and they'll help you out, all-encompassing your body, your mind, your spirit, the whole lot. That would be really nice to see upon this earth. Anyway, that's my rave.
I heard something really cool the other day. Actually, it was something I read, and this person asked someone, "I want happiness," and the person replied and said, "Well, I is your ego, want is your desire, and if you take both of them away, what are you left with? Happiness."
Yeah.
Sometimes the simplest methods are usually the best, because once the mind gets around the simple understanding of it, you form a pathway of ease and joy starts to lift back up inside us. I think it always comes from the mind first, what we perceive, what we see, what we believe, and a lot of that's programming too. So it's just what we've been born into, whatever environment we've grown up through has given us our perceptions of the world. And some of those perceptions do cause the dis-ease that we feel inside ourselves. And some of it's taught, well, you should think about the past a lot. So if you spend too much time in the past, you generate anxiety.
Depression.
Anxiety and depression. And if you spend too much time looking into the future and not paying attention, you start to get more and more afraid. So the idea would be to stay in the present and keep reminding yourself to stay where you are right now. Don't let your mind wander too far from your own feet. It's all right to explore and meditate and expand your mind and consciousness, but don't go into areas too much that cause too much trouble for yourself. Otherwise, you end up down a pathway that goes more into darkness rather than to light. And I think the light is usually the key to it all, because even when a lot of people that have come across my path that I've seen suffering in one way or another, or one form of another, I've always found shedding a little light into those areas is like shedding love into there at the same time. And as you get closer to the source of that dis-ease, it helps them to release the suffering that they've been in for however long that they've been there, mainly because they actually want to release it. It's one of those areas people heal because they want to heal. They sometimes just need the assistance to do so. And then there's those who don't want to heal because they're suffering for a reason. Like one lady I crossed paths with was suffering because she wanted justice for something that happened within her family, and she wasn't going to end her suffering because she was going to take it to the bitter end to let the person know that it hurt her and her family, that it really hurt. And sometimes they do it because they just like someone's attention, so their suffering gets worse so that they can have more attention for it. I know they're negative perspectives, but it just helps us to understand the reasons for why people suffer. Sometimes we suffer without even knowing why. It's not until we do the self-exploration, as you said, Nese, know thyself. Because the more you understand self, the more ease that you feel. And ease usually brings joy and peace. And it also teaches us gratitude. That's my road for the moment.
You know, and another level, which isn't talked about much, is I've met people who have brought past life injuries into this life with them. Some of them have been born with it, and some of them hit puberty, and all of a sudden it's just manifested. And it's usually about the same age as whatever happened to them in their past life. And I've met, and it's all kinds of things, people, not just injuries, but how people have died as well, and it's manifested in their body in this lifetime. And that's a whole different thing together. And that's what I mean, when you look at someone, you've got to determine where's this coming from. Is it something you're eating, something you're not doing, the way you're thinking? Is your spirit screaming out to walk the pathway? Like, what's going on? Is it a past life thing? Is someone whammied you? Because I've met people that have been whammied, and that's another realm too.
For the Americans, whammy means cursed.
Yeah. Zapped. We call it whammy or zapped, that's what I call it. And I'm sure Brother Donny knows a bit about this stuff too, where, and I know Carl has witnessed the death of one of our acquaintances through this kind of stuff, where they've been zapped or whammied by someone on the dark side.
Well, I cannot confirm or deny that I may or may not be going through the whammying of others with the endeavors I'm going through right now.
Yeah, and people that know about this, you can recognise it. You have a look around, you can recognise it. So there's many levels. The one I find most interesting is the past life one, because when I first started noticing them, they were coming over from past lives in people. I found that really, really interesting. At first I'm like, how can that be? And then I learned to understand how it could be. And it's still within the person they're holding on to that. Either it was such a big shock or other things happened, and you can unravel it sometimes and they can get better, and sometimes it's just the way it is. They just got to carry it into this life, and hopefully the next life it won't be there. So we try to give them the tools in this life of when the next one comes to let, so they can let go of it. So by the end of their life they let go, ready for the next one. And like I said, there's all these different levels. Yeah, did you want to talk about the Wamian people? Because you know.
Oh yeah, I probably don't delve too much into that stuff because it's a little dark for me. But in saying that, over the years that I've been working, there's been a couple of cases that have come across me where these are men too primarily, and one of them, just for instance, was going through an experience of depression and getting really down and doing some pretty crazy stuff, pushing everyone he loved away. But when I had a look, I saw this like dark, cloudy shadow around him, and he wasn't actually present. I was looking through someone else that was connected to him, and I said, I think someone's passed away that would be representative of someone who was, we call them a life-sucking bitch, so please forgive my language. There's someone who sucks the life out of other people. They don't have much of a connection to anything, no faith. They don't believe in the light of any source. So what they do is they sponge energy off other people. And I describe this person as going to other people's places and just literally sitting down, eating all their food and taking everything they want, being grumpy, and then just leaving. No matter where they went, this is what they did. And when they passed over, because they were connected quite strongly to this man, they didn't see the light. They only saw their family members' light and attached themselves to it. And all of a sudden, his energy being drained by this other entity just started to make him crash. The family thought they were cursed by someone, and once I explained what was happening, we were able to release him from that person and help him to heal. And then it wasn't probably only a few weeks ago, the same experience. Another person, another part of the world that I was looking into had lost a family member and moved into that person's house, and that person hadn't moved on from that area because they had no idea where to go, because again, no belief structure and no understanding of what to do, or there's a bigger light that we're all connected to, or any of that stuff. So they again attached themselves to someone that's light was bright around them, and they started to crash and go into depression and felt like they wanted to push the world away and started behaving just like the person that had passed away. And these are the things that I witness, and that they're the kind of darker things that I suppose that I see more on a now level rather than the family curse stuff that I've heard about. But yeah.
Yeah, I had an encounter with family curse. It was really unusual. And I remember sitting there, I must have sat there for half an hour just staring at this poor person's energy. And I was trying to say to her, I don't feel uncomfortable. I'm not looking at you, I'm looking at what's around you. And I sat there not saying much, looking. And then another half an hour, asking her questions like, you haven't ever done a seance, you haven't done this, have you ever done that? And or she said no to everything. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? I know there's something wrong, I can feel it, but I can't see it. So, and I thought, I'm not letting her go until I get to the bottom of this. So I just sat there and I thought, all right, let's go to another level and have a look at this. So I went to another level, and lo and behold, I saw it. And what it looked like, it was like a black disc, a flat black disc. And I thought, what the hell is that flat black disc? So I moved it away, and when I moved it away, I saw one of her ancestors put a curse on their own family. And I couldn't believe what I'm seeing. And I even said to the girl, look, I know this is going to sound really strange, but one of your ancestors has put a curse on your family, and they're telling me that your mum knows about it and you need to go home and talk to your family. And I said, I know it sounds strange, because I think it even sounds strange. And anyway, she was happy with that. We went, she left, and a couple of weeks later, during this couple of weeks, I'm scratching my head thinking, wow, that's a bit wacky. That's one of the wacky things, the strange wacky things I've in that wacky box, the strange wacky box it was. So I sat on it. 3 weeks later, I get this phone call from the lady's friend. She goes, my friend just wanted me to thank you for what you did. She went home, she asked her mother, and her mother pulled out a scroll, and on the scroll told about the curse that this ancestor had placed upon them. And now the secret had been out, I presume, and I did put energy there for it to be dissolved, but I never heard from again. And in our field of work, if you don't hear from someone, usually they're doing all right, because if they're not, they'll be asking you or someone you know that works in the same field for help. But if you don't hear from them, you know you've done your job right. So I never heard from her, and I think I did my job right, but that was a weird one. And if anyone works in that field all the time, my hat's off to you, because that was I had to get my finding spirit out, my tracker. I had to get the tracker out and track really severely to find the curse. And it was not nice. And I was thinking about that the other day, actually. I was watching some show, and it dawned on me that when people have gifts, that they're not given out lightly because of those reasons. Because you're given a gift, and that's how it can be used. Anyway, that's my yarn. Now I've got the dead.
Hey, I got something to add to that. Like, a lot of people say that they're sick, so I keep reminding them to change the word. Like, they're not sick, they're healing.
Yeah,
Because I think the power is in the spelling.
yeah,
Because people concrete their own situations by repeating it and binding themselves to it.
yeah. When you go to the doctor and they send you to a specialist, then they send you to someone else, and you've got to repeat your whole story over again. Well, this is what happened to me, this is how it happened, this is how I'm feeling right now, and this is what they've done. Then you go to the next one, and they go, okay, what's happening? This is what's happening. And you've drummed it in more and more and more and more and more. They should just ask you once and read what's there and not ask you again.
One of my favourite sayings is, your body's like a race car, you're pretty fine-tuned, you should run it on the right fuel so it sings.
Yeah, and that's another level here. We'll talk about this. Programming your body, all right? So you can program it to heal. You can, that kind of programming, what I just said. Because even here, if you've had something bad happen to you, and you can't work or anything, and you go for government assistance, they'll grill you for like 6 weeks over and over again. You have to repeat your tragedy over and over to each different individual at each stage of that process. At the end of that process, that person is emotionally and mentally effed, because they've just had to relive their trauma umpteen times in the last 6 weeks just so they can get some assistance. And I realised they were hammering in the trauma, and they shouldn't be doing that to them. And we do it to ourselves, because we'll program ourselves through mind and emotions that go into the body, because that's what your body is. It holds all your thoughts, it holds all your feelings, it holds all your memories. It's like a computer, your body, and your head runs it, and then your spirit runs that. That's the energy, governed by heart. So you can program yourself into illness and program yourself out of it, I've found. Yeah.
The way of the strong mind.
Yeah, I'm the way of the strong mind. To master strong mind, I will first master self.
Yeah, that's a good...
And that brings me to moving things with your mind. Telekinesis. Is it possible? Yes, it is. In our culture, the men are taught to fly off a cliff. Am I allowed to say that, Donny? Oh, Donny gone. Donny, he left us. I didn't even notice because I was too busy yakking. His phone might have hacked it. Sorry.
I'm still here.
Yeah, I can see that. I thought I lost you too for a second there. I thought, here I am raving on, not paying attention. And I lost all my guests.
I just muted up a little bit because I'm eating my banana because my coffee is a little acidic. And so I'm eating a banana to neutralize it a little bit, finding that balance. One of the challenges that I've witnessed with others in their attempting of healing is the self-fulfilling prophecy, or like you were saying, solidifying the disease. And currently we are using a lot of computer vernacular to describe what is happening. And in our existence, when we come through our mothers into this realm, we are born with the program. And unfortunately, through that existence, we have more or less computer viruses that are being forced upon us willingly and unwillingly to disrupt that program working in its optimal function. And so if we get bombarded from many different perspectives of the overabundance of stimuli or those things of negativity, then it's almost like that death by a million cuts. And this is where synchronizing with the greater cycles is a wonderful opportunity for me in my rebooting the program, where I will do my fasting according to the teachings of my ancestors during the equinoxes and the solstice. And I also do mini fast in between when individuals ask of me to assist them in the particulars of their challenges. And so when you reboot your hard drive, then you try to go back, or you attempt to go back to the original program. And this, again, is an opportunity with the new moon to where I would say minimally in this next new moon that you, if I may request humbly, increase your water intake. I was told the formula of optimal hydration is to take your weight. Here in America, we do it in pounds. And you take your weight in pounds, divide it in half, and turn it into ounces. So basically, if you weighed 100 pounds, then it would be 50 pounds, and then you change it into 50 ounces, minimally, to increase that for one lunar cycle and notice the difference. But also, go through your existence as you usually do, but take measurement, take data, and write down daily, this is what I've eaten, and this is how I'm feeling. And do that for one lunar cycle, so then you can scrutinize what is it that potentially is occurring in your existence to cause dis-ease, to cause the virus within your program to cause dysfunction. And you look at the metaphors of physical, where is the negativity? Mentally, where is the negativity? Emotionally, where is the negativity? Spiritually, where is the negativity? And once you do that critical thinking and absolute truthfulness, you can make a plan or plot a course of finding positivity. And it works. But in order for it to work, you have to work. And unfortunately, sometimes individuals will rather be caught up in the victim label to resist healing. Because we can always find reasons, justifications, excuses to do or not to do what is needed for positivity. Whether it be Mercury's in retrograde, daddy didn't hug me enough, mommy coddled me too much, my underwear are too tight, I woke up and stubbed my toe today. You know, we can find that victimization that it's not me, it's not me, it's not me. But then when we critically think, all of a sudden it's like, oh, maybe it is me. Or is it you? The views and the opinions of the guests today are solely on each individual sharing their knowledge of experience in order to help you find optimal health, life, liberty, and the production of happiness.
Well
Here
spoken.
I am again on my own. Oh, there's Donny. Hey, brother.
Well spoken, Nese.
Well, Donny, you've noticed it before where individuals will go into areas where they should not be, and because of that, they'll find major disruption in their regularity because of the residue of these areas that they go through.
Yeah, yeah. I can vouch you on that one. Yeah.
Can you elaborate and share any experiences that you know of?
Yeah, going to places where you should not be and you were pre-warned, yet you still went there. It's sort of like a slap across the face when you find out what you've done wrong. Yes, I can see that. Yeah. Like going on the Sacred Women's site when you should not be there. Yes. You know.
Well, that's where sometimes somebody will ignore the sign, where the sign's right in front of them saying, hey, there are really nasty critters in the woods. It's best not to go here. And
Yeah.
some individuals in their hubris or ego are like, oh, whatever, I can take it. And they
Yeah.
might. They might be well enough to go through such an ordeal. But why? You know, why would you want to unless it's an absolute necessity?
That happened to me once. Sorry.
Well, if you see a big sign on the side of a river that says, do not swim, crocodiles, would you go swimming? A lot of people will go swimming because there are crocodiles there. Yeah. Have you ever been to a side of a mountain and up on a ledge and you got the feeling that you want to jump? Do you jump or do you not?
Depends on if I got my flying squirrel suit on with a parachute.
Yeah.
Which I would
Right.
totally do. If I was physically fit, I would be climbing a mountain with a flying squirrel suit on, get to the top and run and jump and be, yay!
And I'd go with you, Nese, because I'm that kind of adventurous person, but no one I know around me is brave enough.
Well, I don't know if it's bravery to climb a mountain and jump off it, or to jump out of a plane, but I understand the thrill.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of jumping out of a perfectly good plane. Why jump out of a perfectly good plane when it's still flying?
Hey, I'll tell you a story. Going back to what you were saying about going where you shouldn't be, because it happens in buildings too. People only think it happens in the bush. It doesn't. It happens in the city. It happens in houses. So this one time, I was with my cousin, bless her. She passed away. We were in a place called Blacktown, which isn't far from where I live, and that's a known place where they first rounded up all the blackfellas and relocated them to Blacktown. Anyways, that's important because there was this really old building and they turned it into a tiny museum, right? And it's like in the middle of Blacktown, so it's just other buildings all around it, shops and all that sort of stuff, right? And my cousin went in and goes, "Oh, you should come in, cousin, have a look at this museum, you know." I'm standing outside and these people are all around, and there's a fella with his dog. Now, I'm the kind of person that I'll say hello to the dog before I say hello to the person. I can't help myself. So I acknowledged the dog, and the dog looked at me, and I went to walk inside and it started barking. So I didn't go in, and I'm standing there thinking, what's this dog telling me? And I'm a bit unsettled because there's lots of people around, and because I feel a lot of things. So having all that, there's a lot of noise in my head. And I'm trying to think what the dog's saying, and the dog's telling me, don't go in there. And meanwhile, I've got half a dozen people going, "Oh, come on, sister, come in. Come on, guys. Come in here and have a look. There's Aboriginal stuff in here." I'm thinking, wow, and I'm pulled at this time. And because I'm with aunties and that, like, you got to do what they say sometimes. And I felt compelled to go in. So I kind of, by now, I'm standing near the doorway close and I'm about to go in. I took 4 steps in there, looked around and ran back out. Oh, my God, I said to the dog, I should have listened to your dog. Anyway, what happened is when I went back outside, I saw a spirit of a little boy. I'm thinking, what are you doing there? This isn't the happiest story, by the way. So the boy proceeded to tell me that the person that was in that place when it wasn't a museum way back in time killed him and buried him where he was standing, which is now just cement, because it's like, how can I explain it? So you've got the shopping centre high rise in a U shape, then it's all cement like a park with seats here and there and coffee shops around the edge, and then you've got this really old little wooden building that they've turned into a museum right in the middle of it. So in this giant concreted area, underneath this concrete, is this boy, and they would have found him. I don't know if they dug deep enough. They would have found him making it. I don't know, unless they just cemented over the top of it, right? I don't know. I didn't look that far because I'm looking at this boy. And then I realised, because I went into that building, that the energy of the bad dude was standing right next to me. So I rushed. Anyway, we finished the day and I tried to be normal. And I'm aware of this, and the dog's still barking its head off, right? Barked all the way until I left. Come home. Anyway, that night, I realised, shit, the little boy's still with me, so is that energy. So, and then I had to fix it all, right? And then I realised I could have saved myself a real lot of time and trouble if I just had to listen to that damn dog and just not gone in and said, sorry, aunties and cuz, I'm not allowed to go in. It would have saved me a whole heap of trouble. But that's what it's called, live and learn, and it pays to listen. That's my yarn anyway. Sorry, I made everyone quiet.
I don't know what it is, but every single time you end your statements is just as I'm taking a bite out of something or drinking something. And so the dramatic pause, I guess, helps also. But I was going to... I'm sorry, go ahead.
The silence of truth.
Sure.
That's what That's what I call it, you know, because it's like a bubble. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Well, I was going to share an experience that I had where I found myself in an area that I immediately had to reverse course. So in Minnesota, in St. Paul, on the boundaries of St. Paul and Minneapolis, we have Fort Snelling, which is part of the colonization of North America. That Fort Snelling was one of the furthest forts of the military, the Department of Interior, in the territory that eventually became Minnesota. And in the flatlands of Fort Snelling, and I don't know if you can, Luna, while I'm talking about Fort Snelling, Snelling, if you can might maybe find an image of it, because it's pretty interesting. But this Fort Snelling was up on the bluff, and during the times of turmoil with the indigenous, the Paleo Americans, the suffering was horrific, where allegedly thousands of Native Americans died of disease and of starvation because of the disruption of colonization. And so me and a friend of mine, we go to Fort Snelling because I've always been fascinated with Fort Snelling. Even in fifth grade, I did a whole presentation on Fort Snelling. So it's kind of like a national park or a state park now. And there's some walkways, pathways that are a little bit below the fort, kind of into the Mississippi and Minnesota river banks. So me and my friend are going through this, and it's probably a little bit past midday. But you know, when you start going deeper into the forest, you start losing the light. And as we're walking down this path, I'm trying to be all cool and macho because I'm with a woman. And as we continue this path and the woods were getting darker, there was something about that darkness that just was off for me. And I'm like hesitant about going the same direction as it's getting darker. And so we kept going, and I'm feeling uncomfortable that there's something there saying, you don't need to be here. And I was ignoring it because of my macho-ness, and I didn't want to say something to this individual about I'm feeling nervous. And then finally, she said something, and she's like, I don't think we should go any further. And I'm like, you're right, let's get out of here. And so I knew that if we took a 90-degree turn to the left and went up the embankment, that we would have a quicker route to get into the parking lot where the vehicle was than having to go all the way back, because there was something within me that felt if we turn around, there was going to be some kind of negative outcome. But I don't know. I just knew that it was one of those occurrences where within my core, it was like, get out of here. And
Well, I got it. Sorry, I got it up on screen. I've just pulled up Fort Snelling. There's all different kinds of pictures, and I think I got the right place. There's a army cemetery. There's water, a big lake. There's a fort, and the green park around it. There's an old house. Is that correct? Well, it's a giant house. I think I've got the right. I'm just got it up on screen, Nese.
Yeah, Fort Snelling, Minnesota. It's right where the Mississippi and the Minnesota River connect.
Yeah, it's got a V. There's a V where there's two coming into one, and that would be a female area because it's a V and not a straight. That's how we were taught here. If the river's in a V section, it's the female part of the river, and when it's just straight, it's the male part of the river. But there's a lot of not living people buried there.
Oh, yes.
And there was a black and white picture. Where was it? The Native American one. I saw that they had a picture of. There it is. Let's have a look if we can see that. Yeah, it's got teepees in it. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but before they all took over. Before it was built, it looks like the area.
Well, even before Fort Snelling was built, it was a huge, prominent area for the Native Americans, the Paleo Americans there.
Yeah, that's what we got. That's what they're
And-
showing you, a painting.
And there was thousands and thousands of people that lived along those riverbanks all the way towards St. Paul and Minneapolis. I believe that if you look at that movie, The Time Machine, and the reboot, and when he goes allegedly into the future, he's actually showing the past, where these Paleo Americans, they used to live on the bluffs of the rivers and stuff, because above the bluffs are where the huge carnivorous animals live. And so they knew that if they went down the side of the bluffs, then the big, huge animals can't get them. And this whole area was prominent with historical artifacts that prove how the Paleo Americans were here way before the alleged Bering Straits theory.
You know, going back to whatever energy you felt there, Nese, it's hard to say because these people passed away. There's forestry where the native people would have lived, so you got them as well. And then you got them when they probably massacred them to get them out of the area. That probably would happen, no doubt.
It's great sadness.
Yeah, I can feel that just by looking at the pictures. Seeing the pictures of the soldiers here, that freaked me out. Brought something back in memory. And the other thing I noticed, the big house looks like it's been mud flooded. Obviously, it was near the water, so it would have been flooded up a couple of times. Oh, I didn't want to talk about that kind of stuff. Sorry, Donny. Yeah, I felt there's great sadness there. It's a place that really needs a lot of healing. If I can bring that word up again.
Yeah, we some Native Americans, Paleo Americans, we've discussed about how they shut down Fort Snelling, and allegedly, or according to the law, that if any federal land is no longer utilized by the federal government, then we as Paleo Americans have the right to purchase this land. And I would love it if, all of the different tribes of Minnesota, reservations for a more accurate term, would come together and purchase that and utilize it as a museum of the Paleo Americans that, were massacred, slaughtered in the Minnesota Territory in order for the dominant society to proclaim the West. Because this was shortly after the Louisiana Purchase, where Thomas Jefferson purchased from Napoleon all of the land west of the Mississippi.
So was there any significance besides just a living area to the native people? Did they have sacred sites there and stuff?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well,
Even though
because just like, I mean, like most communities, when they come together, that I would estimate over 90% of every major city in the United States is built upon the remains of a older city of the Paleo Americans. And
That's like Tamworth.
yeah, I was going to ask you, Donny, the same question.
Yeah. Well, Tamworth was a big site, and now they put a town over the top of it. But it was definitely a big site at one stage.
well, you know how they have the teepees, okay? So the dwelling known as a teepee, that was basically the metaphor of today's tent to go camping, because the prairie Native Americans would go hunting for bison because they were prevalent out on the prairies. Then they would have to have structures that can be put up in a hurry and taken down in a hurry. And so they would follow the bison and they would have their teepees. And so they could establish a little pop-up community in order to harvest the bison, process the meat, and then bring it back to their larger dwellings, which usually are called longhouses. I don't know if you're able to type in Indian longhouse and show some images where these allegedly dwellings would house 1,000 people in it. It basically was like a apartment complex where they were massive. And they had like bunk bed structures in it. And they utilized, and this is one of the challenges about the differences between a lot of indigenous people in North America, where they didn't feel it necessary to have concrete or granite bricks and stuff in order to create their dwellings, that they lived in symbiotic relationship with their surroundings. And so they would utilize wood or timber to make their dwellings, because wood and timber would biodegrade and eventually go back to the earth. So why would that not be the best resource for, yeah, just take it. I mean, as we can proclaim as indigenous peoples that in North America, look what has happened since the 500 years of some entities trying to create what we're in right now. Just the deforestation alone, if you look at that process of where the dominant society came in and said, get rid of all of these trees. And the Paleo Americans were like, what?
We didn't have one house where we all stayed. We had an area where thousands of people would meet, 3 different mobs, or all the mobs would come together and live for 3 months together and conduct all the necessary things, and then we'd all go back home and do our normal stuff. That's why Donny and my mob, we're neighbours, which meant we would have been part of that, eh, Donny?
Yeah, that was for sure. We call them Humpties out here. It's sort of like a dome shape made of tree branches and bark. And sort of the fire goes in front and it's sort of half open. If you look at a dome tent with a big opening on one end, a fireplace there where it keeps you warm. And it's basically just made of timber and bark. Once it's finished with, it just goes back to mother.
Yeah, I've got them up on screen. Depending on where you were, what mob you were from, you had different kinds. Because some areas had really big paper barks and you could strip off giant strips and make big dwellings. And as you can see in the picture, some are round, some are only half, some are pointy. There's different ones, but did you know that mob they found, Donny? It was near the eel catchment area, and they had they had round ones, but the bottom of them were made of rocks and stuff. Remember that?
Yeah, I sort of remember that. See the one there?
There's one there, sorry. Which one, bro?
That's for, see the one there like a lean-to?
The one, this one?
No, it's it was in the middle there.
Hang on. This one here?
No.
Keep going.
I can't see it now. Keep moving the screen though.
Oh, sorry.
See the one, it says ritual and ceremony. See that one?
Hang on. Yep. Yeah, that's one I put in it before.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
That's a nice neat one.
That's one prevalent around here. The other one, where was it? I've seen it there before. I can't see it now.
Oh, hang on,
It's
because I'm
sort of like a half.
This one?
Like a half igloo type one.
Yeah, this one here. Look.
Yeah. Sort of like a half igloo.
Yeah, Nick. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. See this double one at the bottom? Looks like a double garage.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the bigger ones. In the desert, they cover them up with big, long strips of bark instead of using leaves like that.
Yeah, well, that's what they mainly used around here.
Yeah.
Then,
It depends on what you got around you, how you make it, but it's all basically the same.
Well, that's the same as the Anishinaabe people, where the Lakota, Dakota, Nakota people, where they had teepees, the Anishinaabe had what we call wigwams. And a wigwam was basically like a pop-up tent where you could take birch bark and you can roll up birch bark, and it's rather light and it's prevalent all over the place. And so you would make a little dome structure out of branches, and then you would basically take the birch bark and unroll it and put it over the dwelling in like a shingle pattern. So the water wouldn't collect and it would just run off.
yeah, the other one we used to use here, Nese, was rock shelter. It was like a rock overhang. Sometimes they used to put logs up against it and bark and sort of make a shelter that way, or they're just open air. Just more like just to get out of the weather, for want of a better word.
Yeah, them's the ones I was talking about, Donny. They found them near the eel traps. So
Yeah, I know. It's very similar to ones up around Bundara too. They used rocks as well.
Because they stayed there for long periods of time.
Yeah.
See this one? See this one over to the lefty? This modern looking one? Reminds me of the shack. But yeah, this is our modern version of Humpy. We just get whatever we can find and make something livable.
Yeah.
Can
Well,
I
I
tell?
did come across a Humpty Up bush one time.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
It was actually made out of, it was up against a rock, like a rock overhang, a bit. And it was made out of windmill blades.
Oh, true. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, it was made like, what's they used these words, the contemporary. Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Using whatever you can to make it. That's what contemporary.
Yeah,
'Cause
well, that's how I was taught. Like we had to make do.
Here in North America, I like to call that ingenuity.
yeah.
Ingenuity. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's funny. Oh, look what I just found. I saw this as it looks more like, I don't know if we should be looking at them, a burial platform. What I thought it was we used to have medicine where you put the fire underneath and the steam comes up, and then I looked at it and went, oh, shit, I think that's a burial platform.
No, that's another one. It could be a burial platform too, but
That
it also could be
the
because
rainforest.
it's because of mosquitoes. They put the
Oh,
fire
right.
underneath and
Yep,
let the smoke come up through it,
yep.
and that keeps the mosquitoes away.
And I know you got to do that for crocodiles too. You got to get up off the ground because
Yeah,
they walk around at night. So that's what I mean. The dwellings change depending on where you live. So if you live up near the crocodiles, you ain't going to want to sleep on the ground. You want to lift up a little bit.
yeah.
But look
You
at this
don't
one.
want.
Yeah, here's the burial one. I'm going to show it real quick and then take it off. All right? Look, see?
Yeah.
That's how I want to be buried, man.
Me
You're
too.
you're not allowed to do it anymore.
Yeah, I know.
6 foot up in the air, they say, on the end of tree stumps, things, the end of trees, and they put you up in the air and wrap you up. That's how I want to go.
Yeah, that's how the Anishinaabe people used to do it. They would build a nest up in a tree, and then they would put the body in the nest, and then they would come back in a year and collect all the bones, and then they would take the bones and put them to the burial mounds.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll switch it off now because we're not allowed to really talk about that stuff. Yeah, so our shelters were, depending on where you were. How come it's changed now?
Well, to kind of go back on the whole thing of where we started talking about healing and where you were bringing up about family curses.
Yeah.
This is another possible reason for dis-ease, where you may have cultural what's the word I'm looking for? Trauma, genetic trauma, where as indigenous people, paleo, this, that, and the other thing, because of progress, because of the dominant society, that major pain and suffering has happened. And this has happened to all skin types, all races of humans. When it comes to the human race, no humans are winning because it's dictated by the banksters.
I thought it was a marathon, man, not a race. Sorry, Donny, what were you going to say?
And so because of that cultural or that race trauma, this can also affect our individual ability to find healing.
Yeah. Luna, see if you can punch up Mile Creek.
Oh, here we go. Do you like the way they tell me what to do? I'm joking. Mile Creek.
Yeah.
Mile Creek. Look at my typing skills and finding skills. Mile Creek, Australia. A Mile Creek Massacre. Oh, yeah, I knew it was that. I bet you I've been there. I've been to massacre sites. It was horrible. I didn't know that it was a massacre site. I was in the car. I had no idea where I was going. Before I even got there, the symptoms hit me.
You know the weird part about that Mile Creek?
What?
Within 100 k's of that Mile Creek, none of our mob actually lives there. They won't go anywhere near it.
Oh, do you blame them?
Yeah. But that's a generational thing too.
I'll tell you what happened to me when I went near the massacre site. So we're in the camper van travelling, and a friend of ours had a house on property, and they said you can come out and have a shower, wash clothes, have a rest, because we're driving around all the time travelling. We're rightio. Before I even got there, my whole body blew up like a balloon or full of water. I had pains in my back, pains in my shoulders and chest, pains in my leg. I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on with me. I was just bloated, and I physically bloated up, right? You could see this was a physical symptoms. I'm trying to figure out in my head what's going on. I'm thinking I'm on the road. I'm not standing in a place I shouldn't be. And then I thought, where the hell am I going? And then I'm thinking, where am I going? I don't know where I'm going. We're going to this person's place. I've never been there before. I'm way out of my own country. So anyway, we pulls into the property, and we get there, and everyone noticed my discomfort, and they're all like helping me. They're giving me food that's really high in nutrition and liquids. They're putting hands on me and trying to take the swelling down. They're standing around trying to help me figure out what the hell's going on. Anyway, I'm sitting there. I couldn't stand it anymore, so I just got up and I ran out of the house and I ran off into the bush. Laid down. It's going to make me cry. Laid down on the ground and just called out for the mother. Mother, help me. What's going on? Help me, help me. And then I heard a woman speak. And I looked up, and standing in front of me was an Aboriginal woman, an old one, and a young one that was pregnant. It had a profound effect on me, obviously. It's making me cry. And they proceeded to tell me the story of what happened in the place where I stood, or laid on the ground, where I was laying. Okay. And I'm still laying on the ground, just got my head up, looking up at these two women, spirit women. And they told me what happened. They told me how they drove them. They were shooting them, and they drove them off the cliffs into the water, and they all drowned. So anyway, they told me that. And then all of a sudden my body went back to normal, and I'm still laying on the ground. And then they proceeded to give me another message about don't be sad, and don't take on this sadness of our people. It's like a sickness, and look at the positive side of it. And the lady pointed to her belly, and she said that the baby that she held in her belly was from a father. And she said, this is the future. This is the future. And she was just telling me that children of today are the future, that we're mixed and we can bring peace and healing. Okay, I'm just going to go and make myself a cup of tea now, because that was, whoa. So that was just telling me something of when you go to a massacre ground, how profoundly it can affect you, especially if you don't know where you're going. I'll be back in a sec.
Well, I've had a similar experience of when my sickness got to the point of where I was no longer to ride my concrete pony, my motorcycle. And a friend of mine was willing to go on a road trip with me through the Black Hills, because that's what I wanted to do that summer with my concrete pony, is go to the Black Hills on the. And so we drove out to the Black Hills. We went out to Bear Butte, which is a highly shared site, especially from the book called Black Elk Speaks. And as we were there, we're thinking, why not go down to the Wounded Knee massacre site? And so, and Wounded Knee is one of the widely known massacre sites of where the United States cavalry killed hundreds of old elders, women, and children. And we went there to the site of where the mass burial was, and literally found myself in tears and crying at the site because the energy is still there and it's prominent. And like Luna was saying, that sometimes these energies can permeate our existence. Some individuals may be fortunate or unfortunate to create a wall, a shell, a barrier, so that that negativity won't work its way within. But it is very difficult, and sometimes I find it baffling how in America people can be so dismissive about the historical fact of the, I would dare to say, billions of entities in North America were wiped out because of progress, because of manifest destiny, because of the want, the desire to create the United States of America. However, being of British descent and Anishinaabe descent, there is a constant struggle within, and we find ourselves in this system that we're in, and this is where we're at. There is, from my perspective,
I'm back now. Sorry.
If a herd of bison is stampeding towards a cliff, you cannot jump up in front of the herd of bison, or let me say, you can if you wish, but to jump in front of a herd of bison stampeding and saying stop is more likely not going to have a positive outcome.
Yeah.
And so we're in this system that is going where it's going, and not any of us, I believe, think, feel, can predict exactly where we're heading. And to jump up in front of it, it's like trying to stop a river flowing. You know, to jump up in front of this force to try to stop it is potentially detrimental. But we can run with the bison, and we can push to the left or push to the right and help change course of direction. Change is inevitable. And we can make the choice of action within that change. And it's not easy. You know, so how can we collectively realize that in the technological advance state we are in, our community is no longer a small group of 100 people. Our community has become the world, and dare I say, the universe. because of technological advancement. So where do we find the unity in the community? And how can you participate in the community? Only through the coming of unity.
I'm back now and I pull myself together, and sorry about that, Donny. As soon as you said the name, I should have just... Anyway, what did you want to say about that, Donny? Before I take it off.
Like I said, no, none of our mob lives within 100 k's of that area, but people still go there to heal, to do ceremony, for want of a better word, help the broken spirits on their way, for want of a better word. I can't think of a decent word to say for that one.
Healing, we just say healing.
Yeah,
that's why we use that word a lot here in Australia, not just for a person. When we have a native word for the healer, and we use it for lots of things. But healing these places, we go there and we do stuff and we try to heal the past, so we can heal the future.
Yes, yes, that's it.
Thanks, Bungie. Wiringen. You listen. I knew you were listening. You want to jump in? I'll drop it if you wanna.
Yeah.
Second.
Bungie.
Yeah, you know who Bungie is. I'll tell you. Hang on, oops. I've got to move this technical jargon around. Where are we? The link's in there, Bungie, if you want to jump in. Healing places, healing the things of yesterday to heal the future. And meanwhile, while all that's happening, we got generations of kids being born that we got to put healing to. That's why me, Nese, Donny, and Carl, and John, and the other people we have on our show and will have on our show, speak about our culture, because within it is the healing, and that's mainly what we want to bring. That's what we're bringing to the table. That's what people are coming to us for. That's why they love our culture, and our cultures, I should say, is the healing. Whoa, I'm just getting over. I'm going to take that off the screen now, Donny, if you don't mind, because it was a bit disturbing. A little bit. And I'll put what we had on before. Healing the mother. Let's basically heal the mother of the trauma of the tragedies that happened in the past. And it's time for the whole world to heal along with us. Hang on a minute, we got a guest come in. Yama John, how you going, my brother?
Yeah, Gabba. Good. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear. We can hear you clear as day. So, you've been listening to us. I had a feeling you were listening. Did you have a good game?
I just got to... Hold on. I'm sorry. I just got to... I just had to take off YouTube because it was giving me the double
echo
feedback.
You were doing Donny's trick. Echo.
Yeah, the echo.
So everyone know this is Bungie. This is John. We had John on last week. G'day, John. Welcome. I'm glad you joined.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, no, I was just earlier this evening, I had my nephews over and my son. They were all hanging out, so my son just come down from Cairns, so we just had everyone over with Nan and Auntie Ev and all the crew. So
So you want to add to what we were saying about these places need healing, massacres? Like, it's a bit of a touchy subject, but it's the truth and it's happened to us. And that's what the healing's all about, moving on from those histories.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, so before I start, just say good day to everyone. Hey, Yamanda, Donny, and Arnie, Niji, Nese, and yeah, Luna. I think, you know, those things, those experiences can be quite traumatizing. So I've had similar experiences at massacre and sites, and it is very heavy. And because we carry that blood memory of what's happened to our people, and that resilience is inside us, you know, it's something that is quite strong, and it's also quite complicated too, because, you know, in those places there are still the spirits of our family and kin that were murdered. Their spirits, some of them are still in limbo on court, so it can be a big responsibility. And if you're not up to being able to help them move along, it's best to just smoke yourself and, you know, step sideways and not go to places like that, because they can make you sick, and it is all about healing. So you need to be strong enough to be able to you know, do the ceremony and do all the things that need to happen for those spirits, our family, to move on.
Yeah, and when you say strong, you're saying strong within yourself to be able to withstand what you could go through when you get there. And
Yeah, because it is really emotional, and that you step into that place and you feel all the emotions and the sadness and the deep sorrow and trauma. And if you're not prepared, you won't be able to help those that need the help there. You just be burdened with trauma that you can't carry, and then you walk away and you feel like you got hit by a bus, because emotionally you're carrying all the sadness and the trauma from that murder site, the massacre site. So you need to be able to understand what you're stepping into. But that's why you have a Wiringen. You know, you have someone who understands the spirit world and understands how to heal in this world and the next. And like I if I ever go back to that place, I always said I would never go back unless I was ready to do the business that needs to be done. And I haven't been back because it's out a long way away. It's like it's on our country on the western side. So yeah, I haven't been back for a while. Maybe one day, but yeah, at the moment it's just busy enough dealing with
normal life.
what's happening.
Yeah, I found that experience. I said that happened to me when I was pretty young. So I know now if I went there, and I'll plan in the future to travel again, I'm ready now. I can do those things. I'm ready for all of that because I've experienced it. But the one thing that I have in my life, you got to tell me where I'm going, because I had no idea where I was going. If I had known prior, I would have just said, no, I'm not going there. But because I knew at a young age, I wasn't prepared yet for anything like that. But now I'm all right about been tempered. But we'll see. And do you think sometimes, John, it's not really up to one person? Because I've been in places. I was asked once, we have a place in the city here at Parramatta. I think it's Parramatta Girls' Home, and it's a long history of not nice things and deaths and all that. And one of the aunties asked me, would you go there and heal it? And I looked at it and I went, not by myself. It would take an army of us because it's that heavy. So sometime, I don't think one person can lift a whole area. What do you reckon, gentlemen?
Well, our grandmother was in that place, so
Yeah,
was
that's
not
probably
very
why.
nice.
Well, that's why if there was a whole heap of us, because there's a lot of people that have relations in there, and the place we're talking about, Nese, it'd be similar to the boarding houses, the reservation school. What was it called? Those schools? Sorry, what were they called, John? The schools in those
Boarding schools and residential schools.
residential schools. Yeah,
Island,
yeah, kind of.
I can speak for that.
Yeah, akin to that. This place is akin to that. So all the families that have been touched by it, what to heal that place, it would take all the gifted people in their families for all of us to come together and do healing together, because the heaviness and the history of it is so large. I don't
Well,
even
like
know.
most like most challenges, when you have more entities assisting in overcoming the challenge, you have greater success. And if you look at the monumental weight of cultural atrocities, it can be absolutely overwhelming. And so, as John has shared with us, and Anin Niji, that some individuals have a better ability of transmuting that energy, redirecting that energy, because it goes back to that simplification of positive, neutral, and negative. And how do we utilize our tools or abilities to create positivity, or again, minimally neutralize it?
I agree, Niji, and yeah, that place that Luna's talking about is now a campus of called the Western Sydney University. And I went across to have a meeting at the university, and I didn't realize that until I got there, that where the Aboriginal support education, the Aboriginal Education Centre was, that was one of the old washrooms and the dorms for those people that were put there. You know, they were all young women and children. You know, what would you call them? Inmates. You know, they were placed in that place for a better life, and they were sexually abused, they were raped, they were farmed out for sex. You know, our grandmother was there, and she had a horrible time. And when I went there, I didn't realize where. Like I just was told to go to this meeting, and then I parked, and then I started walking up, and I had a big change in the energy. And when I walked upstairs into this place where the meeting was for the Aboriginal like education center, I seen these shadows out the side of corner of my eye, and then I seen the old historic area where was the washroom and all that, because they've listed it as a historic site with heritage listing. And I just couldn't believe it. The unease I felt, and I just had to get out of there. And I stayed in the meeting for as long as I could, and left. And then I was walking out, and I seen one of my friends, a colleague, and he said to me, "Oh, I've moved into this new building and this new site." He said, "Come over and visit me. We'll have a cup of tea before you leave." And I said, "This place is, yeah, it's making me feel a bit unwell." And he said, "Oh, come, I'm going to give you something before you leave." So we went to his office, and his office was in the cells where they used to lock the young women up and the children, and deem them with, like, if they were uncontrollable, they deemed them. They said that they had mental health issues and were lunatics, and they put him in this room, in this series of rooms, and his office was a converted cell. And then I said to him, "Can you hear that noise?" when I was in his room, because I didn't find this out until later. I said, "Can you hear that? Sounds like someone screaming." And he looked at me strangely. I said, "Can't you hear that?" I said, "Oh, anyway." And then later on, he told me that was where they locked up the women and the young girls when they were deemed uncontrollable and had mental health issues. So I could hear that echo of what was going on there. And I thought to myself, this is a university that is aware of the history of this place. There's academics who have done their PhDs and research masters, published work, Aboriginal academics, and they think it's all good to have an Aboriginal education centre in this space and have offices in. I just thought, brother, I said to the other friend of mine, I said, look, if we're ever going to catch up again, let's just go to the coffee shop because I don't want to come here. And people don't understand that, for us, especially, those who have the blood memory and the different way we're put together as, as Nese would say, paleo people, like first people, we just have that connection and that the phone's switched on, you know what I mean? Like the Wi-Fi is spiritual Wi-Fi switched on and you pick it up. And it really upset me because I knew my grandmother was there. And I knew about a lot of the trauma and the horrible things that happened in that place. And people died in that place and they were buried in the grounds. But they don't talk about that. There's a lot of survivors of that place in the community. And, it was just a very, very horrible part of our history, but it's a reality. And, there's people that are living still today that were in that place.
John.
Yeah.
Yeah, my brother. I just want to be asked you a question there. Was that place there run by the nuns?
No, I think it was run by the state, Parramatta Girls' Home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You sort of brought back a memory for me there. Like when I was a little kid, welfare took us. They took it was the place they took us to was run by the nuns, and then I believe it was down the Sydney way, but I can't remember much about it because I was only a little kid. But they treated us really bad there. I remember that. Better not talk about it too much there. Starting to get teary-eyed about it now. Sorry about that, John.
No, well, that's the thing. We're still carrying a lot of heaviness in our hearts, and we need to heal from that. But it's important for us to understand it ourselves as well, because it is a deeper sickness and a big wound that hasn't healed properly, and that's what intergenerational trauma is. Because what happened to my grandmother, passed on to my mum, and my mum onto us, and onto my kids. And if we don't heal it, it festers, and that's what a lot of the issues in our community is about. Because suicide and alcoholism and drugs, it's all about trying to self-medicate. And that's why our traditional healing is so important and so powerful. And I won't talk any more about it, but just give the credit to all of us in this circle, because what we're doing now is also healing within ourselves and helping to heal it, help heal the community and all of us together. So, to credit to everyone in our circle. So these are strong, powerful people, and we can make a lot of positive things happen.
And, you know, when I was discussing this place with the lady, the auntie, I come to the conclusion right there on the spot that it would have to burn the place down. Would release all the spirits, but the place would have to be burnt down. And when I heard your story, John, that was creepy. Someone said it was creepy. It reminded me of all the people that come to me that are in the working force Aboriginal community, and say, I'm having trouble. I went to this place with work, and they normally wouldn't have gone there, but because it was work, and we discussed this on one of the shows earlier, they went there because it was work. It happened to Donny. He had to go in a woman's place because it was part of work, and he should have had the right to say, no, you have to get someone else in here and get the right person to go to that place. It's a very, very big problem, and it needs to be addressed somewhere because it's not helping. And some places really do need to be burnt down. That place in particular, if it needs to be, to heal it properly in a proper spiritual manner and release all that what's been put there, has to be burnt down. But don't blame me in the future if someone does burn it down. It wasn't me, okay? I'm just saying that's what needs to be done. Because now spirit might put it into place and someone else might burn it.
Yeah, well, these things can happen by the spiritual, you know, not coincidence, but things happen. You know what I mean? These things can manifest.
Yeah, it happened.
Careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't wish for it. They just asked my diagnosis. That was my diagnosis.
Yeah.
Burn the place down. Hey, we'd have half the bloody city gone. But we move to a more positive note. It's what we've all in this generation taken from our parents, and our grandparents and our cousins and aunties and uncles, all the trauma they've been through before us. We have the keys to heal this, and we should put it in action. Whoever you are out there, if there's things you understand what we're talking about tonight, and it includes you, you have the power to put healing into the situation now. For some reason, our generation is aware of all this, and we want healing. And there's many levels to healing, like we were talking before. John, the word for our healers, Wiring, how do you say it?
Wirringen.
Wirringen, yes.
Wirringen.
I should know that word, but you know, yeah. So I know in America, they say your mob, there's plenty of places like that. Do you feel like burning them down?
I am more of a proponent of transmuting the energy, because why burn a dwelling down if it's already established, and just to utilize it in a more positive manner to neutralize that negativity. And it's not always easy because of the negativity, the size of it, the greatness of it, of how difficult it may possibly be. An example that we have here, a lot of people may have heard about the Red Lake shooting at this high school in Red Lake, Minnesota, where an individual shot a bunch of other individuals. And there was what people would say paranormal or supernatural or spiritual disturbances occurring at the school. And so they got a delegation to gather and address it, to try to negate the negativity. And this is definitely what we collectively could attain because of each owns negativity within, whether it be cultural negativity or socially conditioned negativity or created on one's own behalf. Because sometimes we don't purposely put ourselves in situations of negativity, but there are times where we do it. And this is where I've made the proclamation of being the stupidest entity I know, because I know myself, and over the years of my experiences, there were moments that I've made negative choices that have caused negativity. And I would like to believe, feel, and think that the energies that I am producing at this precious moment are collectively balancing out any negativity I've created. Because there's a difference between ignorance and what I call stupidity. Ignorance is when we are doing something without realizing the negative implications it is having on not only ourselves or others. And when we learn of it, we change the behavior or the action. Stupidity is when, like myself, go back to the coffee shop and get my specialty coffee because it's my desire. Or when we continue to do what is known to be negative on ourselves, especially, but others. Because there's moments when you'll be close to somebody and they'll say something, just using an example where a partner will say, hey, every time you interrupt me when I'm sharing this, that, or the other thing, it upsets me. Excuse me. And if that individual has now been made aware that a certain circumstance or experience will upset your partner, is it positive of you to continue doing this full well knowing that it upsets your partner? And this is where healthy communication is detrimental when it comes to relationships, and for them to cruise forward together for a course of direction. Because there are the full spectrum of experiences where the request of your partner may be beyond your understanding or agreement. Because like if somebody is like, every time the way you say supernatural, the way that you have emphasis on the S is really disruptive. So can you stop that? So something like that may be a challenge. And that's the beautiful thing about a relationship where, like Chris Rock says, you have to love that individual for the crumbs in the bag of bread. Not just the soft white part of it or the crust, but the crumbs, because we each have our quirks. We each have our little nuances that may disrupt another individual. But the beauty is being able to tolerate every time that partner swallows that weird way, you just smile about it and not stab a fork in their throat.
You know, say I've looked at in the community, and I've looked at having, you know, looking at each individual and where they've come from and what's happened to their family, how they've handled it, and what vices they have because of it and all that. I've looked at it and I learned you have to accept people the way they are, right? Because they've walked that journey, they're suffering from all the same things you're suffering from, but in their own way and from their own line, bloodline. And they're at a particular part of their journey, and some people can see where they're going to be in the future part of their journey, and some people can't. And when you can't, you just got to accept the fact that's where they are right now. Accept them for what they are. And if they annoy you that much, my advice is, if they annoy you much, remove yourself, get up, walk away from that person, get yourself in another room or another part of that room, go outside or leave the place altogether, whatever, you know, depending on where you are and what's happening, but try to avoid that person. If they're at work or something and you've got to see them every day, or you just limit your contact and verbal contact to whatever is needed to carry the day on, and don't go beyond that, because that's who they are and you have to accept it. And same works for you. They have to accept you. But I don't condone deliberately getting in people's faces. It's just, you know, we're all different. We all got different ways of doing stuff. But with us Native people, we do have that line, and it does affect us in different ways. And we have to be aware of that, especially in community, when you got people, no matter what your job is, they're suffering too, just in their way, and just chill out and give them a bit of love and light and a bit of healing. You never know what you might get. I know, I want to get back on healing, because I know that John has a beautiful place here in Sydney, and it's a healing place, and a lot of work's gone into that place, physically, spiritually, for people and for the land. John, in the healing journey, can you tell us a little bit about what you do there and how you brought about healing for the land and the animals and the nature and the people, and what you've got in that place that helps with our cultural healing?
Yeah, so for people to understand where it is, it's in Sydney Olympic Park. So where the 2000 Australian Olympics were held, and there's part of Sydney Olympic Park which is actually a heritage listed place called Newington Armoury, which used to be a naval armaments depot. And I don't know if anybody recalls the movie Hacksaw Ridge. So part of Hacksaw Ridge, in the beginning, where they were at the military barracks, that was shot. The film was shot. Footage was at Newington Armoury. So Newington Armoury is where the healing space is, and it used to be part of the military industrial complex, and we've shifted it from a place of war to a place of healing. So we have the healing space there, which is like an old big, it's like a big shed, but it's where they used to store the torpedoes, the shells, and all those sort of things that used to go on the ferries and then into the harbour onto the naval ships. So it's right on the river. So we as community and elders chose that building, and we turned it into a healing cultural building. And next to it, we've got all art and a yarning circle and a walking track with installations. And one of them is a Frontier War Memorial. We'll have one. We're just about to complete the Stolen Generations Memorial Garden, and a few others. And then we've got a big dance ground. And that place is there for community. We do. It's also got a big wetland there, so there's been a lot of ecological restoration since the Olympics. So there's a lot of wildlife there. So we are now working towards joint management of that place, and we have a council called the Healing Circle that is made up mostly of Aboriginal people, both traditional owners, intertribal community, and also stakeholders. So yeah, we work. We all voluntary. There's no money there, so all the money that we gathered to create that place has been through, you know, doing our own work to earn money for the place and to do partnerships and do some corporate work to get some funding. So yeah, we done it from grassroots, and it's building up a little bit at a time. And we run the Indigenous Youth Summit there every year, and we have our young people from high school being mentored by elders and community, and Luna's there teaching them how to weave, the young women and young girls how to weave and do all cultural things. And then, you know, the young men learn Aboriginal games and singing and dancing. They all do learn these things together. And then we have 3,000 primary school kids that come from many different primary schools, and they come in for a day, for 2 days, and they go through different workshops and learn all about Aboriginal culture from our young leaders, and they're esteemed as young leaders. And by the end of the day, like after 2 days, you got 3,000 primary school kids that walk away all wanting to be Aboriginal because they've seen such a positive, loving, caring, sharing, inclusive, you know, connected um, place and these and space and role models, and they love it. They just want to be a part of it. And we say to them, you know, we never had the fences up. We're always in a circle. So, you know, Aboriginal heritage is a part of your legacy as on this continent as well. So you're all in kinship with us, and our young leaders, they're so deadly, the way they teach. And that's healing. That heals us, heals the wider community. And we plant all these seeds in these young people, and we have all these deadly young Aboriginal leaders that are coming up and passing on, you know, that knowledge is passed on from our elders to the young people. That's all healing. That's all healing work. And yeah, it's getting there a bit at a time. And Luna, you might be able to post, you know, some of the links, and there's called Marama TV you can watch. And also we started an organization called Indigenize, because we work with our family in Turtle Island, and yeah, so we've done a lot together, and we've had lots of delegations of Anishinaabe come across, and yeah, we've been doing a lot of good healing work.
Um, thanks for that, John. A point I want to make is that the non-Indigenous people, the non-Native people, they're coming for that healing and love, because we've got to remember the trauma that we talk about in our people, it's still fresh for us, but for the majority of the world, it happened. They had their turn that long ago that they forgot, but their spirit hasn't, and that's why I feel they're seeking cultural healing in one way, shape, or form, because the spirits are calling out. I just think the whole world's ready to heal, personally. I do. And I feel like we've gone all the way around circle, all the way back to the beginning, ready for healing. Do you have any healing places near you, Donny?
Not at the moment.
Yeah, maybe.
We are actually pushing for culture burn around this area. It's our way of healing mother, healing the bush. and we're trying to teach non-Indigenous people our way is a lot better than just lighting a scrub up and walking away. Yeah, it's a lot more to it than just, like I said, light the bush up and just walking away. Yeah, but we've still got a long way to go yet.
And what about you, Nese? You got healing places? And if you do, I bet you John's been there.
No, we don't heal.
Ha! You know
Well-
what I'm saying.
Well, I will proclaim that wherever you are is potentially a healing spot. It's whether or not you're going to make the course of action to find within love without fear the strength within to heal. Through my experience of being disabled, I have read how there are individuals that refuse to heal because they found that within their disability, they're able to get attention or absorb energy. And so some people will make that choice not to heal, whether it be physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Because I have had many experiences with individuals that will come to me and request assistance in finding direction, and you can share a plan, a basic structure, so they can move in a direction of positivity. Yet when you talk to them a week later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, and they're not doing anything for that movement towards positivity. And that goes back to our protocol of when you give an individual a SEMA and request of them to assist you, sometimes you may feel, think or believe right from the get-go that this individual just doesn't have it within them to do that. And then it can be exhausting where someone may come back time and time again requesting your advice and never take it. And I have in the past came straight out and tell somebody, you know, if you're going to come here and keep talking to me about your physical health, and yet you refuse to do anything to assist your physical health for the betterment or optimal maintenance, then stop coming to me with it. You know, because it's like, how many precious moments have we lost because we're discussing an individual being successful in healing? And that's challenging, because I want everybody to find within love without fear the ability, the strength to overcome their challenges. And so it's disheartening from my perspective, especially in my situation of being blind, crippled up, limited dexterity, in a wheelchair. And I meet these individuals that are physically fit, sighted, and yet they refuse to motivate themselves for that optimal health.
I understand that. Nese?
Kind of like Nike, just do it.
No, yeah, just do it. I say that to people. I go, don't talk about it. Stop thinking about it. Just get up and do it, man. If it's driving now and you need to do it, just do it. And I think there comes a time. I think they got to go. People have to go through all that deprogramming. Why they got there? You got to work on it. How I got there, and all that stuff. I had a question here for all of you, fellas, and I'd like to ask you individually. What do you think our ancestors? Hang on, I've got to phrase this right. Well, we know that our ancestors walk with us, okay? I want to talk about how, one, maybe they interact with us, and two, what they're saying to us about living in this time. So anyone can go first. And if you want me to clarify the question, I will. But our ancestors, how they interact with us and what they are saying to us about this time. Don't all answer at once. What would you imagine that they would be saying might be a better way? I don't know. You know what I'm getting at. All right, I'll put it this way. I'll put it on someone. If someone don't talk, I'm just going to lay it on you. No takers? Okay, next question. All right. I'll tell you, Nese's going to have to say something. Go, Nese.
Well, we in Anishinaabe talk about how we have the ability to communicate with our ancestors. And to me, this doesn't sound illogical. If you think about your genetic composition is from the basic design from your mother and father. And so that genetic connection is there. That frequency, that resonance is connected to our ancestry. And so when we utilize different modalities, we can tap into that knowledge. And the challenge that can arise is there are entities out there of negativity that will utilize this opportunity to give you disinformation or misinformation pertaining your questions. And this is where major discernment is critical so that you are tapping into a source of positivity. However, again, as we were talking earlier, that there are individuals within bloodlines that will curse their own bloodlines. So then you do risk the possibility of it just going to hell in a handbasket. You know, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And so it is beneficial that when you attempt these modalities of healing, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritual, that you take the precious moments to regard what you are about to do. And so you move forward with some caution. Don't just get caught up in the excitement of the new thing you found and jump in head first. Because sometimes when you jump in head first, you break your neck because you didn't know how shallow the water was. Not always, you know, but this is where the critical thinking needs to be utilized in order to make the best choice of direction. And if you have any questions whatsoever on how to attain this, reach out to Donny because he has all the answers.
That's what I reckon.
Are you trying to put me in the firing line, are you? Nah. I've got nothing to say at the moment there about that. I mean, sometimes if you want to talk about ancestry, I know my dad now and then visits me. That's all I could say about that. Especially on that spiritual level, I know he does. I'm trying to eat a sandwich at the same time talk to you fellas, eh?
I can't confirm or deny. That's why I brought you up, Donny, to answer the question.
Yeah, you're halfway through a sandwich, eh?
As Nese says, you shouldn't be eating so late. It's not good for you.
Yeah, but I've got to stop them worms from biting there, John.
No, I think with the ancestors, if you open your mind and your heart, they're within you. So it's just about learning how to harness that strength and that power. And we all in the Gamurai language, ancestors is the word for ancestors is Maran. And as my older uncle that's passed on now explained to me that after that there's 3 generations in front of us, 3 generations behind us, then there's us, and after 5 generations, everybody's Maran. There's no fences in the spirit world. Maran is all our ancestors together, so we're all connected, and we have the power to be able to reach and tap into the strength that is within our blood memory to help us live and be good human beings. And that's something that you need to focus on, and you need to be ready for. And I know Nese was saying, I was listening to what Nese was saying, and you have to be ready, and you have to be serious about these things that are in our path. So if you want to heal, if you want to tap into your ancestors, don't just talk about it, but prepare yourself step by step to be able to do it. And if you're not ready, you're not ready, and understand that you'll come to it when you're meant to. So don't push yourself or pretend or play games with yourself. When you're ready, and that's that.
Well, you know what? We have gone past the 3-hour mark. And I am extremely surprised that we've been squawking, yarning for this long. And it's enjoyable when you find out that this expansive time went so quickly, because for me, it's a joyous occurrence. And I do appreciate the opportunity. So I don't know about Luna or Donny or John, but I am starting my morning, and you down under are in the midst of your evening, but I can go a little bit more if you wish.
Depends on the old fellas here.
I'm all right. I don't have to get up early, but I'm just mindful of everyone else. And Nese, what do you got lined up today, Nese? What are you going to do today for this blessing of a day?
I have to move forward in my campaign of rolling for the title of Mayor of Moorhead.
Wow.
There is some internet stuff that I'm going to get caught up in that I'm not looking forward 2, 1, 0. But it's the things you got to do if you're going to save the universe. Starting right here. Think or act local and think global.
Deadly.
Agreed. Yeah, all right. Donny, John, you want to say, Donny, how you coping there, brother?
Like I said, been a stressful week, but I thought positive all the way through it. I'm happy the way the vent rising came, so I can't complain. Yeah, I might have to wuss out myself too, eh?
It's
So
getting
I
there
got to
late.
work tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right then. All rounded up. Certainly had a very wide range conversation. Hope that everybody could take something from it. We'll go around and you can say goodbye, everyone, before I close off, and we'll go out with some Didge music. And I want to thank everyone for listening, but we'll say goodbye to these fellas before I end it. So, Donny, you're the oldest. You can go first.
Yeah, it's been a good bloody show, this one here. Look, it's good to hear from you again, John, too, by the way.
Yeah, thank you, my brother. Good to hear you.
No worries, brother. We'll have to catch up one day, eh?
Yeah, when I get up your way, I'll come and say g'day up there in the cold country.
Yeah. Make sure you bring a jumper though, brother. It gets a bit cool. Yeah, ask Luna about that.
Hey, I'll never forget it, Donny.
Yeah, like I said, I always had this in mind. Instead of taking the easy road, I always take the hard road because it's a learning curve to me. So that's how I run with it. Because if you take the easy way, you don't learn nothing. But if you take the hard way, you learn from your mistakes, whether it's physical or spiritual. But you still learn, don't you? That's what all I wanted to say about this. Anyway, I'm going to say good night and yalu to everyone.
Yalu, Marty.
Yalu.
Yalu, my brother. Till next time.
Yeah.
No worry.
All right. They say you're the next oldest.
So, well, I strongly suggest you find your best blankie and your favorite corner of the room and go curl up in a ball and suck your thumb and just find your misery and own it. No, I'm totally kidding. Totally kidding. Don't find yourself there. And if you do find yourself there, reach out to any of us. I'm positive that we're willing to assist you in finding direction, or at least supporting your choices in finding that direction. But it's being critically honest within your existence to know thyself. And as my ancestors say, Apegish bimadazi we wiyan chimigwich. And as I say, toodles.
Okay. Toodles, that's funny. And John, I know you're coming late in the conversation, but
Yeah, I'll say Chi Migwich Niji, Giga Wobberman, Minwa. I can't speak Nishnawbe Mowen very well. Giga Wobberman Minwa. And Yalu, which means again in Gamaroy, Marugulda, or Yilawaya, which means later on. So there's never a goodbye, but until next time, Stay safe, stay positive, keep to the good path, and we'll talk to you again.
Okay, and that's it, everybody. I want to thank you for joining us. Thank you, Nese. Thank you, Donny. Thank you, John. And thank you, everyone listening and everyone in the chat room. Sorry I didn't call out the chat room. The conversation was one of those conversations, But thanks for sharing the fire with us. And as usual, love to you on this day. Stay centered. Creator loves you. Healing's on the way. And till next week, and I hope everyone can join us. And respects to all our ancestors and our elders all over the world. And here we go. We'll go out on some beautiful music here, and we'll see you next week. Yalu.